Before 2013, Cracka and Default were separate. The event that merged their paths was the colossal security breach orchestrated by Edward Snowden. Snowden's leaks, revealing that the NSA and CIA were secretly intercepting and storing the personal data and communications of virtually every single internet user globally, shattered the public's trust in government. This profound betrayal provided the perfect shared motivation for the two hackers. They connected through encrypted channels, bonding over a shared sense of righteous anger. They agreed on a collective mission. They wanted the CIA to feel the same invasive violation that ordinary citizens felt when their private data was exposed. Default sought digital revenge for the US government's betrayal of its citizens' privacy. Political retribution for the US military actions in Gaza. Their first symbolic act was leaking the personal phone number of James Clapper, the Director of National Intelligence. But their grand prize was to be Brennan, the head of the CIA. Cracka took the lead on the reconnaissance and extraction phase. He identified an old public phone number associated with Brennan. This number belonged to Verizon, one of America's largest mobile operators. This is where the operation moved from complex code DNA to brilliant social engineering. Cracka did not launch a brute force and digital attack. Instead, he simply called Verizon's internal technical support line. He adopted the persona of a Verizon employee working in a different department, claiming to have a technical issue with a high-value customer's account that he needed help resolving. He used the perfect blend of technical jargon and impatient authority to bypass an initial resistance. To confirm the customer's identity, the unsuspecting Verizon technician asked for a security PIN. Cracka, having previously performed a minor search or hack related to Brennan's public profile, already had the PIN. With this simple, verbally supplied PIN, Cracka gained the technician's full trust. Completely unaware that they were speaking to a teenager in England, the Verizon team handed over Brennan's complete digital life. His account number, his backup mobile number, his home address, and the critical last 4 digits of his bank card. The final step was hacking Brennan's personal email, hosted on AOL. Cracka called AOL's support line. When prompted for security verification to reset the password, he simply supplied the last 4 digits of the bank card he had just obtained from Verizon. The system accepted the answer. Cracka immediately gained full administrative access to the CIA director's private email account. The haul was enormous. Cracka quickly began sifting through Brennan's inbox, downloading thousands of sensitive files, top-secret documents, internal memos on counterterrorism strategies, spreadsheets containing the data, and social security numbers of other CIA officers, and official government instructions. The greatest fear of the CIA had been realized by a child through a telephone call and 2 successful confidence tricks. Brennan was soon alerted to the breach and immediately had his email account shut down, but it was far too late. Cracka had the entire archive. The documents began to appear online, piece by piece. The initial leaks caused a diplomatic crisis and a firestorm in the American media, permanently damaging the CIA's international standing. The reputation of the agency, built on layers of impenetrable secrecy, was crumbling in real time. Days after the Brennan hack, Cracka escalated the chaos, releasing a spreadsheet containing the personal and private information of 9,000 Department of Justice employees and 20,000 FBI agents onto social media. The hackers had effectively declared war on the entire U.S. federal security apparatus, while Cracka remained safely across the Atlantic, confident in his digital invisibility. Default, a resident of the U.S., grew increasingly stressed. He was too close to the fire. The FBI and CIA had thrown every resource at the investigation, but the trail was frustratingly cold. The botnet masked their movements, and Default's paranoid security setup kept him off the grid. But their ultimate undoing came not from a brilliant digital counterhack, but from a simple, tragic human error. Under the influence of substances, Default made his single, fatal mistake. He boasted to a friend about his involvement in the CIA hack. This private, drunken confession was all the evidence the FBI needed. Within days, the FBI raided Default's residence and arrested him. During interrogation, he broke, revealing the identity and role of his English co-conspirator. The US immediately contacted British police, leading to the swift arrest of Cracka. The alias is dissolved into reality. Cracka was identified as Kane Gamble, and Default was Justin Gray Liverman. Due to his age and involvement in the direct execution of the high-profile hacks, Gamble Dick Cracka received a 2-year sentence. Liverman Default, despite being the originator of the botnet and a key conspirator, was sentenced to 5 years. The date was October 2015. The air within the heavily guarded complex in Langley, Virginia, was typically a mixture of sterile silence and low-key paranoia, the standard atmosphere for the world's most powerful intelligence agency. But that month, the tension spiked, not from a foreign threat, but from a single, unassuming telephone call. CIA Director John Brennan, a man whose face was a fixture on global news and whose movements were protected by an impenetrable wall of bureaucracy and security, received a call on his personal mobile phone. The number was unrecognizable. When he answered, the voice on the line was unmistakably that of a teenager. Both have since been released and are now reportedly channeling their extraordinary, if illegal, talents into careers in the booming field of cybersecurity. The story of the two teen hackers remains a profound case study in the power of social engineering over technical defenses, and a searing indictment of how easily one of the world's most feared intelligence agencies can be humiliated. It leaves us with the essential question: when does digital defiance become a justified act of civil disobedience? And when is it simply a dangerous crime against the state? The child was calm, almost casual as he delivered the bombshell. He had hacked the entire CIA system. Ordinarily, such a call would be dismissed as a childish prank, but this was John Brennan. This was the man who sat at the nexus of the world's most sensitive secrets. The simple fact that a complete stranger, much less a child, had acquired his personal, private, and mobile number was, in itself, a colossal security failure. The call was not a prank. It was a devastating proof of concept. The security apparatus meant to protect America that was now confirmed to be compromised. When the young caller, who adopted the online moniker Cracka, was finally asked for his demands, his message was simple, yet politically explosive. He called for the United States to cease its military aggression in the Middle East, specifically citing attacks in the Palestinian territories, demanding global peace and non-intervention. The moment the call concluded, the machinery of the American government whirred into action. The fact that a juvenile had compromised the director of intelligence was a profound blow to the agency's credibility. The scale of the crisis can only be understood by appreciating the CIA's core obsession: secrecy and identity protection. For a CIA agent, the ultimate defeat is not capture but exposure. Consider the security details surrounding the Langley campus itself. To prevent any traceable data from leaving the building, the CIA's internal Starbucks branch, colloquially known as Stealthy Starbucks, serves coffee in plain, unbranded cups. There is no logo, and crucially, no agent's name is ever written on the sleeve. This meticulous effort to prevent a coffee cup from becoming a paper trail underscores the monumental failure of having their core digital infrastructure exposed. Initial digital forensics quickly traced the attack not to a sophisticated foreign state, but thousands of miles away to the quiet town of Leicestershire, England. The architect of the initial phase was a 15-year-old boy who went by Cracka. But Cracka was only half of this equation. To fully understand the why and how, we must look back 7 years to the genesis of his American partner. The story of the other co-conspirator, who operated it under the alias Default, begins in 2008 in Virginia, USA. Default was not an aspiring cyber activist. He was simply an intensely competitive video gamer. His early obsession was not with political systems, but with the lines of code governing his favorite games, particularly first-person shooters like Counter-Strike. Default taught himself to dive into the game's programming, creating his own cheats and mods that allowed him to manipulate variables and secure effortless victories. This self-taught mastery over code, the ability to make digital systems bend to his will, was his first great achievement. Default soon found inspiration in the headline-grabbing acts of Anonymous, the global hacking collective. He soon joined a politically charged group called AnonSec, where he learned the power of the botnet, a chilling tool of digital warfare. A botnet is a decentralized army of compromised computers, all controlled remotely by the hackers. It was his access to the AnonSec botnet that led to his first major breach. Noticing that one of the infected computers belonged to a Canadian medical college, he decided to investigate. He successfully accessed the college's financial records, discovering that the institution was holding substantial student debt, amounting to over $9 million. In a brazen act of digital populism, he deleted all the records. The college's systems were thrown into immediate disarray. Default's next act was driven not by curiosity, but by pure visceral fury. In 2014, the Danish government passed a profoundly controversial law that allowed bestiality. As a passionate animal lover and dog owner, Default was incensed. This was no longer an abstract target. This was a personal moral outrage. Mobilizing the botnet, he launched a major assault on the Danish government's official website, defacing it with a bold, shaming message. More critically, he used the botnet to launch a distributed denial of service, DDoS attack on every website created to support the heinous law, overwhelming their servers and shutting them down completely. The international condemnation that followed was massive, forcing the Danish government to revoke the law the following year. Default had won a monumental victory. Despite his success, Default was frustrated. The credit always went to Anonymous. He knew the cost of exposure was ruinous. He refused to use his home Wi-Fi, instead purchasing a dedicated satellite connection that he installed at a discreet location far from his residence. Even his machine was a digital fortress, so layered with security protocols that it famously took over 30 minutes just to power on. His security was a testament to his paranoia, a paranoia that would ultimately prove insufficient.